Good morning. Ooh, thank you. And welcome to worship with the Unitarian Universalist Church of Ventura. I'm Worship Associate Sandy Atkins, and I'm joined by Worship Associate Sue Brinkmeyer. Our minister, the Reverend Dana Worsnop, is out of the pulpit today, so in honor of the upcoming 4th of July festivities, we have 3 of our community talking about their multicultural experiences. Jose Moreno, Victor Solis, and Lily Rappaport. We'll hear from them later, and they're going to introduce themselves. We ask that, I'm not going to bother asking that people without masks not sit there, because nobody is. We only have one announcement. We need 2 women to help coordinate a women's potluck picnic on July 31st. Please connect with Rena Pizzuto in the Berg Hall after the service. Let me remind you to consult the UUCV This Week newsletter if you want to know what's happening, and you can also show up early and look at the screen, and all of the good stuff that's happening here will show up there too. Now, enter with me this sacred space. Bring with you what is yours, a burdened heart, a joyous song, a wearied spirit, a seeking mind. Bring the gift of yourself to the altar. It is an honorable gift. Let us enter sacred space.
Morning. I am Worship Associate Sue Brinkmeyer, and I am delighted to be with you here this morning. We invite all of you who are Zooming or streaming otherwise into this service to light a chalice or candle at home as Sandy lights the chalice of our free faith here in the sanctuary. There we go. Our call to worship this morning is different yet united by Pat Uribe Lichty. We come from many places, along different paths, bringing different truths. We come with different histories and different realities, and yet we come together as one people, with faith that we can use our differences to heal ourselves and each other, to bring wholeness to a fractured world. We come seeking to find community, to find acceptance of who we are. In this place, we may find others who are much like us and others who are much different. May our lit chalice remind us that we are a people taught by different stories, with many voices, but always one people, working for a world where love creates justice, and justice gives birth to peace. Come, let us worship together. Our music director is away today, and we are grateful Zach Spencer is here as our guest musician, pianist, singer, etc. If you will rise in body or spirit as you are able and join in singing hymn number 188, Come, Come, Whoever You Are, we're going to sing this once together, everyone together, and then 2 more times in a round. You'll see people making their way forward to lead each of our 3 sections. So you guys might want to stand right directly in front of your section. We have Glenn and Chris leading. We're we're dividing ourselves into 3 sections. So I'm splitting this big section here. Section 1, Section 2, which Victor and Kathy will lead, and Section 3, which Kent and Sandy will sing. And when we all are finished, when you finish your section twice through, just keep singing that final line so we all finish together. Follow your leaders, and Zach, take it away. Thank you.
My name is Lily Rappaport, the Director of Family Ministry here at the church. And right now I call in all those that are young or young at heart to come join me in the front here for the story, for the child in each of us. Oh, that won't work. Today's story is called Everybody Cooks Rice, written by Nora Dooley and illustrated by Peter Thornton. My stomach grumbled as Mom prepared dinner. I couldn't wait to sit down to eat. Carrie, could you find Anthony? Dinner's nearly ready. Mom's always asking me to look for Anthony, my little brother. He's quite the foodie. When he's not playing ball or hopscotch, he's next door sampling our neighbors' meals. Anthony was nowhere in sight, so I headed over to Mrs. Darlington's house. We call her Mrs. D. She's our next door neighbor. Mr. and Mrs. D are from Barbados. Their grandchildren, Sean and Stephanie, were over for dinner of black-eyed peas and rice. The smell of fried onions and bacon made my mouth water. I ate a small cup of rice and black-eyed peas. Then I asked about Anthony, and Sean said that he saw him entering the Diaz's house. So I went there next. My friend, Fendra Diaz, and her little brother, Tito, were cooking dinner because their mom was working late. Tito told Fendra that she uses too much spice. Fendra said Tito was checking the pot too often so the rice and the pigeon peas would never cook. Older brother Jose told them to pipe down. He wanted to watch TV. Fendra explained that her grandmother from Puerto Rico taught her to cook with turmeric, which makes rice vibrant yellow. It was delicious. Then, when I asked anyone if they had seen Anthony, Fendra said that he had just left to visit Dong, so I went off across the street to Dong's house. Dong Tran came from Vietnam 5 years ago with his whole family, his aunts and uncles and cousins. And Mr. and Mrs. Tran work late, so everyone takes turns making dinner. Tam was busy making the garlicky, fishy sauce called nuoc cham. She let me try it with some rice. It was sweet and salty and sour. When I asked if anyone had seen my brother then, Dong said that Anthony had been helping Mr. Hua and Mai Li with their groceries. The Huas lived on the corner, so I started walking up the street. My friend Rajit called out to me. He was carrying 3 round boxes. Rajit said his parents worked at their video and gift shop, so he was bringing them leftovers. There was a big party at their house last weekend. Rajit's mother cooked a colorful Indian dish called bairani with peas and cashews and raisins and lots of spices and a special kind of rice called basami rice. Rajit said Anthony and Mai Li were blowing bubbles out of a window at the Huas house. The Huas came from China a year ago. Mrs. Hua is learning how to speak English. We smile at each other a lot. She was steaming white rice for her family and also making tofu and vegetables in the wok. That's a large, round-bottom pan. Whenever I visit, she insists that I sit down and enjoy a meal. Here, everyone uses chopsticks. Mei Li, who is only 3.5 years old, can even pick up a grain of rice with hers. According to her, Anthony was bye-bye, so I decided to try our backyard neighbors, the Blues. The Blues are from Haiti. Their cat just had kittens. Madame Blue spoke 3 languages, French, English, and Creole. She was making a Creole-style Haitian dish with hot peppers, chives, red beans, and, you guessed it, rice. Monsieur Blue worked 2 jobs, so he won't get home till late. Madame Blue says that the pot will stay on the stove and the rice will get tastier and spicier. Adeline and Jean-Marie Blue returned home during their break from after-school jobs at the grocery store. They helped themselves to bowls of rice and beans and gave some to me. My mouth felt like it was on fire. Jean-Marie teased me as I gulped down some water. It was getting late, and I still hadn't found Anthony. Adeline said that she had seen him with kittens in his arms climbing the fence into our yard. I thanked her, and I bid au revoir. That's goodbye in French. At home, Anthony was showing the kitten to our baby sister, Anna. He explained to Mom that he was only borrowing the kitten. Mom's grandmother from northern Italy taught our grandmother, who taught Mom how to cook risi e bisi, rice with green peas. Mom put butter, grated cheese, and some nutmeg on it, and it smelled so good. But my stomach wasn't grumbling anymore. Anthony said he wanted to eat his dinner, even though he was full, because he loves rice. And that afternoon, he found out that everybody cooks rice. And now, we'll stand up in the aisle here and make a bridge of love as we sing our children out to their program.
We hold you in our love as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go. You nurture the spark of your precious life. We hold you in our love as you go.
We here in this congregation hold the world around us in love each Sunday as we take up an offering for an organization that helps people in the larger community or to funds that help people in our own church. Those who are with us via Zoom can donate via the link posted in the chat or by texting ASSIST to the number which will be on the next screen. Those of you here in the sanctuary can also text to give, and you can put a check or cash in the donation box on the back wall of the sanctuary after the service. Our offering today goes to Ventura Homeless Prevention to help our neighbors here in Ventura who are facing eviction because they are temporarily unable to pay their rent themselves. This past week, Ventura Homeless Prevention helped a mother who had experienced complications with her pregnancy that made her unable to work, and then the baby was born prematurely and needed costly medical care. Mom was able to work out a payment plan with the hospital to pay those bills over time, but when she was unable to pay her rent, she received a 3-day notice to leave or face eviction. Fortunately, Ventura Homeless Prevention was able to use the funds received from donations like this one today to keep her and her 3 children in their home. That's what Ventura Homeless Prevention does for 6 to 8 households every month, and the families go back to paying their own rent as they did before. Case managers help with budget counseling and also sign clients up for services like free phones or reduced cost utilities that create more wiggle room in their budgets going forward. And it works. That's why over 90% of them are still housed 1 year later. These families need this one-time help when problems arise in life because, on average, they pay over 50% of their income in rent, and so cannot save enough for a rainy day like this one this mom experienced. Ventura Homeless Prevention helps them get through the storm and see the rainbow on the other side, free from the double traumas of eviction and homelessness. Thank you for giving generously, as you always do.
We are so grateful for the generosity of this congregation, which helps us weave a beautiful tapestry or rainbow of love that we call community. Today, we light a memorial candle for Paul Carlson, a longtime member of our church community. Paul died on June 16th at 90 years old. His wife, Alice, and their 2 daughters were able to gather around him with time to say goodbye, and Reverend Dana was able to visit with him at Community Memorial Hospital before his death. The family is planning a memorial service for Paul on Saturday, July 13th at 1:30 p.m. He was beloved by so many in our church and beyond. In honor and remembrance of Paul, we will light our memorial candle from the chalice flame and extinguish the chalice for a few moments of silent reflection. The chalice flame will then be relit, and both will be extinguished at the end of the service. Now is the time in the service when we hold up the great joys and sorrows that grace our lives. We place stones and water for both the celebrations and the sorrows in our hearts, making ripples that are felt throughout our community. I invite you now to speak into the gathered community or write into the Zoom chat the names of those you wish to celebrate or memorialize, or those in need of the loving embrace of this community. Sue will now place one final stone in the water for all the joys and sorrows yet unspoken in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. May we be truly grateful for all that is our life. Please remain seated and join in singing our meditative hymn. The lyrics are from the American poet Lloyd Stone, and the melody, which I think will be familiar, by Finnish composer Jean Sibelius.
This is my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace for lands afar and mine. This is my home, the country where my heart is. Here are my hopes, my dreams, my holy shrine. But other hearts in other lands are beating with hopes and dreams as true and high as mine. My country's skies are bluer than the ocean, and sunlight beams on clover
Our reading today is July 4th Meditation by Maureen Killoran. Spirit of life and love, I come before you, black and brown and red and yellow and alabaster. I come longing for the simpler days, days that truly never were our lot. And I am an American. Hear these voices as in the complexity of our days, I am humanist and Christian, Muslim and Jew, pagan and atheist and Buddhist and you. And I am an American. I am the one who fought for my country, and I am at the same time one who protested war, and I'm an American. Amongst the divisions of our days, I've struggled in poverty, and I've accepted the profits of wealth, and I'm an American. As light is shone on our divisions, I live with often unacknowledged privilege, and I am moved to rage at the complexity of intersecting oppressions, and I'm an American. In the challenge of our days, I am one who supports my country, right or wrong, and I am one who claims the traditions of dissent, and I'm an American. In this polarized season, I am Democrat and I'm Republican. I am libertarian and I am independent. I am green and I am confused. And I'm an American. Spirit of hope, sit with us in our diversities. Help us hear one another in our divisions. Grant that, beginning in this community, we may honor one another's truths and know that a just and faithful tomorrow begins here in our hearts. For with all our problems, with all our pain, with all our limitations and mistakes, we are Americans. I invite you now into a time of meditation. Place your feet on the floor if you're comfortable doing so. Close your eyes if you wish, and breathe deeply. 1, 2. Now let your breath fall into a natural rhythm.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, and above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. Oh, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one, will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one.
Howdy. My father was born in San Antonio, Texas. His mother was also born in Texas, where her Spaniard parents met, and her husband, Ezequiel, came from a small village in northern Mexico. So as a kid, I had thought that their native language at home would have been Espanol. But when my parents would take me to visit with our friends who only spoke Spanish, I would hear my dad cobble together this sort of Spanglish that made me wonder what happened and what is he trying to say? La troca is not a truck. And a woman who is embarazada is definitely not embarrassed. Embarazada is pregnant. So when I was about 7, we visited San Antone, where I heard my grandmother speak, and she sounded just like my dad. My mom, who learned Castilian Spanish in El Salvador, used to tell me that when she spoke to my grandmother, she didn't know whether to speak English or Spanish, since my grandmother didn't consistently speak either one. And that was also about the time that my mom stopped speaking Spanish to me at home, much to her chagrin. Years later, I learned that my dad had insisted that she only speak English with me because I had to know English to succeed in school. Now, about 3 decades later, my cousin, daughter of my dad's sister, told me her parents' actual names. We had always known them as Aunt Mary Jessie and Uncle Sal. But in their parochial schools, the nuns had systematically trained them to speak no Spanish, not even their own names. Those children were christened Maria de Jesus and Salvador, but those were no longer their names. My father was Ezequiel Jr., Ezekiel Jr., but he became Zeke. And if any of them spoke Spanish in those schools, the nuns were quick to snap their wooden rulers across their little hands. How did those children come to perceive their Spanish-speaking parents at home when their own language was gradually stripped from them like an unsightly coat of paint? As I spoke to many more Latinos and Chicanos who grew up in the West in the 1950s through the 1970s, I learned about the broad extent of the suppression of Spanish and this whitewashing of Latino culture in schools and other institutions. When I told my dad about my conversation with my cousin about her parents' names and their harrowing experience in those parochial schools, the same school that he attended, he dismissed, deflected, and denied so fervently that I never mentioned it again. I wonder if he had reflected on what they all went through and what he went through. And if he had not, then how could any of his wounds be healed? Instead, when I was 7, he told my mom to only speak English to me. Yet, we could break that chain of denying ourselves the heritage of Spanish. In our public schools in Southern California, we saw fresh recognition of the value of bilingual skills. Our American culture was changing. So my mom insisted that she would speak Spanish with my younger sister. She put her foot down, and my dad acquiesced. I found it easier to study French in high school because of our Spanish at home, and I spoke to our family friends in Espanol, never resorting to Spanglish. So our generations who value the beauty of language can learn or relearn Spanish or German or Dutch or Japanese and proudly restore that aspect of our cultures. So this past Father's Day, I could have expressed my appreciation by writing, "Much obliged, Pop." But instead, I wrote something that I know he understands. Muchas gracias por todo.
Imagina que no hay cielo. Es fácil de intentar. Que abajo hay infierno y arriba solo estrellas. Imagina a todo el mundo viviendo por ahí.
My name is Lillian Rappaport. Since I graduated from college with a theater major, I'm going to begin my story by telling you about my first acting role. When I was about 6 years old, I was cast in the role of Princess Ying Yawalak in a summer stock production of The King and I. The Rodgers and Hammerstein musical is inspired by the real-life experiences of Anna Leon Owens, a determined and widowed school teacher from Wales. She was called upon to educate the children of the King of Siam. The king had a vision to modernize his country and align it with Western perspectives. The story addresses social reform and justice issues that resonate with Unitarian Universalists today: abolition of slavery, women's rights, and the fight against oppression. It underscores the importance of effecting change while respecting the intricate dynamics of those involved. My life journey mirrors this cultural exchange. It begins at the intersection of two rich and distinct heritages, Korean and Jewish European. East meets West. My father was born into a Jewish family in Antwerp, Belgium, just 3 months after Hitler assumed power in Germany. Recognizing the danger, his parents made tremendous efforts to escape the Holocaust, eventually finding refuge in the United States. Sadly, not all of their relatives were as fortunate. My father was raised in Manhattan's Lower East Side, the vibrant heart of Jewish life in New York City. His family were able to freely practice their rich heritage, celebrating traditions such as Sabbath dinners, candlelighting, and Passover seders, cherishing the warmth of family gatherings. When it came time for my father to attend college, he ventured to Oklahoma State. And there, he encountered anti-Semitism, perhaps fueled by ignorance. Some people who had never met a Jewish person before even asked him if he had horns, which is a myth perpetrated to demonize Jewish individuals. On the other side of the world, growing up in the province of Chungcheong, which is now part of South Korea, my mother faced imminent challenges: poverty, food, scarcity, and the weight of living under Japanese occupation defined her early years. The outbreak of the Korean War in 1950 further exacerbated their living conditions. And in the face of mistreatment by her father, likely stemming from the disappointment of having 5 daughters and no sons, my mother displayed remarkable resilience. She maneuvered within a cultural context where boys held greater significance. During the difficult times when her mother was too sick to care for a newborn daughter, my mother found a way to feed her infant sister a mixture of rice and sugar water, a testament to her resourcefulness and her compassion. After the Korean War, my father was drafted into the U.S. Army and was stationed in Korea, where he met my mother. It was there that my sister and I were born. And despite my father's family's initial disapproval, they eventually accepted us. At the time that my parents married, interracial marriage between whites and non-whites were prohibited in 17 states. However, in 1967, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in Loving versus Virginia that such state laws was unconstitutional. This landmark decision effectively put an end to discriminatory practices and affirmed the right of individuals to marry across racial lines. Throughout my upbringing, it was unmistakable that my family, comprising of my Korean mother, my Jewish father, and 4 half-Asian, half-Jewish children, stood apart from our neighbors and our schoolmates. I believe that our unique blend of cultural backgrounds was a testament to the rich diversity that defines the United States at its best. I'm so fortunate to be here, a land of freedom, where open arms welcome new cultures, where horizons are broadened through shared experiences, and where interconnectedness fosters understanding. In closing, I realize that my greatest achievements happened before I was born, from the action of my parents and their parents and their parents. My success is a direct result of the work and the hardship of those who came before me, and for that, I'm forever grateful.
Mi dirás que solo sueño, te aseguro que no solo yo. Tú puedes quieres ser parte de él, y en el mundo habrá unión.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Jose Moreno, and I was born in Barcelona. And when I was 4, I moved to Granada. I came to this country when I was 22, and I'm 48 today. And my talk today was about how I went from loving the United States to appreciating the good and the bad. I study environmental science and geography in Spain, and I took this class called biogeography, where the professor told us about the national park system in the United States, and I completely fell in love with the system. And I was thinking, oh, the U.S. is the best country in the world, and I want to move there. So when I was 22, I came to this country with $5,000 in my pocket and no English. And here I am. But my parents grew up in post-Civil War in Spain. You can all imagine how difficult that must have been for them. So, but then I came to this country and I started seeing people living on the street due to losing a job, or losing a house, or losing health care. And for me, that was incomprehensible. It didn't make sense to me based on my upbringing in a socialistic society where healthcare, housing, education, and even transportation is a human right. So for me, that started breaking down my belief system and the wonderful ideas and the idea that I had that the U.S. was a perfect country. So I came to actually appreciate the healthy and unhealthy things of both the Spanish culture and the American culture, and realized that, yeah, the U.S. is healthier in some ways, but it lacks the progress in other ways that perhaps Spain is more progressive in that aspect. So, like I mentioned, for me, housing, education, healthcare, and even transportation are human rights. I myself went to school and I was provided education and transportation and living at no cost, even though we still pay taxes in Spain. So that's sort of my state of mind and my state of consciousness when it comes to appreciating and living in both cultures. So I love the U.S., I love Spain. I go back every couple of years, and that is my story. And I like to end my talk with a famous quote by Cervantes, the writer of Don Quixote. For neither good nor evil can last forever. So it follows that as evil has lasted a long time, good must now be close at hand. And I'm going to read The New Colossus by Emma Lazarus. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land. Here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame. Keep ancient lands your storied pomp, she cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning for breath free. the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempted, lost to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. Amen. Namaste.
All right, please rise in body and spirit as you're able and join in singing our closing hymn, De Colores, a traditional Spanish language folk song dating back to at least the 1500s with English lyrics by David Arkin and the last verse in the original Spanish. All the colors, yes, the colors we see in the springtime with all of its flowers. All the colors, yes, the colors of pen, ripped in the cloud and it showers. All the colors, as a rainbow appears and a storm cloud is touched by the sun. All the colors about for the whole world around and for everyone under the sun. All the colors, yes, the colors of people raiding on by with their banners. All the colors, yes, the colors of pennants and streamers and plumes and bandanas. All the colors, yes, the colors of people adopting their place in the sun. All the colors about for the whole world around and for everyone under the sun. All the colors, yes, the black and the white and the red and the brown and the yellow. All the colors of people who smile and shake hands and say hello. All the colors, yes, the colors of people who know that their freedom is won. All the colors abound for the whole world around and for everyone under the sun. De colores se visten los campos en la primavera. De colores son los pajaritos que vienen de afuera. De colores es al arcoíris miremos lucir y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores de mí. Son los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí.
We are preparing to extinguish both our chalice and our memorial candle. Please join me in reading the words on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. Those we carry into our lives until we are together again. All of you here in the sanctuary are invited for coffee, tea, bagels, conversation, music in our community hall, Berg Hall, through both sets of doors. If you are a visitor or a guest here today, our connecting table is a lovely place for you to stop by for a chat. It's right through the double doors there, and a big sign overhead. Welcome table right next to that where people stand by to answer questions about our denomination or our church. And I remind any of you who have something for the offering that you can put it in the donation box at the back as you leave today. And finally, I'm just going to add that we are doing UU the vote, and we are ready to give you letters to take home if you'd like to take those with you.
As we say goodbye to Pride Month and all our rainbows and colors, I leave you with these words from UU Barbara Paskin. Because of those who came before, we are. In spite of their failings, we believe. Because of and in spite of the horizons of their visions, we too dream. Let us go remembering to praise, to live in the moment, to love mightily, to bow to the mystery. May it be so.